Welcome to Shabbat Shalom, everybody. All y'alls.
All y'all?
That's what we say down south. All y'all.
We're up in the Northwest, and you're talking like you're in the South?
Yeah, well, it happens when you're raised by people from the South. It comes out at times. Anyway, it's preparation day.
It
and,
is.
I thought when Shabbat was over last week, that it went really fast. And it didn't used to go that fast, did it? Did they speed something up? Did something get sped up so that Shabbats are...
I think it's just the nap time.
It's just the nap time? Oh. Anyway, it's the revelation of it's going to be another 6 days before Shabbat.
And you spent all 6 days preparing for Shabbat.
Preparing for it. Here we are. We're almost there. We're at the finish line. Preparation day is the finish line.
Yes.
It's where we prepare stuff so that we're in Shabbat this evening. In just a few hours, actually. It's early morning, and I got my toothpicks holding my eyelids open. Coffee is a must.
It is.
It is, yes, indeed. So anyway, blessed be Jehovah, and good morning to all y'all. If you're listening to this recording at a decent time, then hi.
You should tell them a funny story, just to tell them a story. Just for no other reason.
For no other reason? Do I have a funny story?
Well, you should tell them what happened the other day when the squirrel hit the house.
The squirrel hit the house, and it made a tremendous amount. It was...
We haven't seen a squirrel. I've not seen a squirrel since we moved in here.
This is the first one.
Yes.
Huh? And I saw one at a distance, but down upriver.
Yes.
I saw
you should
one.
Probably explain to them your love-hate relationship with squirrels.
I'm not a friend to squirrels because they're
rodents.
They're rodents, and they eat the irrigation parts, and they make work for those of us who have to repair those things before they work and all that sort of thing. And the nice thing is we have been without them here. It was up at where I used to live on the golf course. The neighbors, all those golf course people, you got one feeding them and another one shooting them or wanting them shot or something because of all the damage they do. And it was on and on kind of
Right.
And one lady caught one in a trap, right, just down a few houses from us, and took it to the Humane Society and asked the Humane Society people, what should I do with this? And they said, get rid of it. It's a rodent. That's what they told her. So the rodent thing comes actually from the Humane Society in Meridian, Idaho. I just want to make sure that you know it was Meridian, Idaho.
But so you were peacefully sitting in your chair writing.
I was indeed.
Actually for this morning.
Yes, indeed. And this the scratching was
the horrifying scratch.
Yes, I jumped up. I looked around. Well, jump like me, but I got up and looked around, and here's this squirrel on our house
and it's
at the
up really
window,
high.
up really high, yeah, and scratching, trying to stay up there, and so I tap on the window thinking it's gonna get scared and leave. It looked right at me, and I think it stuck its tongue out at me. Probably not.
But maybe.
But I went out the back door and came around to see what in the world is it doing, and there's our cat right below it. And I
One of
said,
our cats.
One of our cats, yeah, Gordo. His real name's Tonic, but he is both of our cats are excellent hunters.
And he's already caught 2 gophers this week.
Yes. Can you imagine a cat? I never heard of a cat getting gophers.
But he's got 2.
But he has had 2 of them, and one of them was really big, half his size.
Uh-huh.
Well, not half his size, but
Yes.
a good size.
Anyway, so he's got this
So he's got this
squirrel
this
cornered
squirrel
up on the house.
up the house, up on the window of the house, around the window framework, and it was pretty funny. And I said, "Go get him, buddy," and I encouraged him, and I went back inside. Next thing you know, he's got him treed, and I haven't seen either.
The funny part about when he
them.
treated him was that Tonic was sitting in the crown of the tree,
Yeah.
and the squirrel was on the trunk trying to get past him.
Yeah, I was like, what sense did that make? But you think that if the squirrel knows that if he hits the ground, it's all over,
Yes,
because that cat can.
that was a highly entertaining.
It was an entertaining morning there, just a little bit, and we haven't seen either one of them, cat nor squirrel, since then. So we've got an important program, subject matter.
That was just for fun. Now we'll get to the
was for
important
fun.
stuff.
We'll get to the important stuff, yeah. And I'm sure some hope that doesn't offend you if you're a squirrel lover. Listen, I felt really sorry and brokenhearted over the guy in New York who had a pet squirrel.
Oh, that was terrible.
That
Yes.
was terrible.
Yes.
People take anything, even mice. If it's a pet, that's a different category. Okay.
Right, yes.
And New York had absolutely no right to do that.
No, that was
None
terrible.
whatsoever. And they've never even supported themselves or an argument for why or apologized that I know of. And so anyway, I just want to make that clear.
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes, it was a funny morning to watch these 2 animals run around.
Yes,
the yard.
indeed. And we're in such a time that there's such a battle. Our last program last week was really touching on getting into the principles of warfare. We looked at Luke chapter 9 and a little bit of 10, and we left off in 10 there, and I think we thought together that more needed to be said there about I was watching Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Okay, so somewhere in here we're going to talk about that too, but we need to base what that means and what is being said. And there's some things you may not know, but almost every time in both Hebrew and Greek the word Satan is used, it has an article in front of it. And in fact, much of the rabbinical writings always use the word ha-satan. Ha is the, and in this case, it's an article.
Right.
And we would translate that article as something like the, depending on the sentence structure. But at any rate, it is never in until recent times, last 100 years probably, it's been in Christianity that Satan has become a one person, and people think of it as one person, when in fact that's not what the Bible teaches. And the original languages bring it out much clearer than just the English translations. Okay, so it appears as though that all we have is a one. There may be one representing, but there is a council or an authoritative group. And when I say authoritative, we're going to learn a little bit about authority here as we go through in the unseen realm. And it's important for us to understand that it's not Satan isn't the devil's name, even though you can call him that. Okay, but you need to understand that if there's one, there's others as well, and it's more of a hierarchy than what we know and what we have been taught most of our Christian lives. Okay,
Well, we talked about that a few weeks ago, didn't we?
I think we did. Yeah.
Talked about the unholy council is probably a better
Yes.
translation.
Yes, it's an unholy council, and so it's referred to that way, and or referred to in ways that would tell us that, especially in the Old Testament, but also in the New Testament. So, when Jesus is in the wilderness, believe it or not, the Greek text does the same thing as the Hebrew. He is with the Satan, not Satan as a proper name,
Right.
but the Satan, and both Greek and Hebrew, as well as Latin and Aramaic. That because the thought of it being one is new thinking. That's late.
That's modern thinking.
That's modern thinking, mostly from the West. It probably started from some preacher that just went at it and decided that's what was in his head, and he preached it, and everybody thought from that point on. That's what it says in the Bible, but it's not.
The interesting thing about looking at the Satan and Yeshua in the desert is you see when you go back to Genesis 1:26 and the dominion that man has.
Yes.
Right, and here he is as a spirit. There's no record there of the Satan taking on a bodily form. And so you have the spirit of Jesus or the Christ talking with the spirit of the Satan, right? And he's looking for permissions to influence the earth.
Right.
Right?
Always, yes.
Yes.
And permissions come, your usurping or their usurping of authority comes because they're misconstruing what behavior does to give permissions to them. And so you look at Job, for instance, it says, Hasatan came before Elohim, and Elohim says, have you seen my servant Job? And he's faithful in all his ways, And he said, well, why not? You're always blessing him.
Right.
I can't find anything wrong because he's always praising you for what you're doing for him. Just take away that stuff and let's see what happens. And when you design a different look at what he's trying to do, he's trying to get him to give up his dominion.
Right.
And Job never does. The only thing that takes place there is that he who was rich now becomes poor in a lot of ways, and then he proves himself that in no matter what he belongs to Jehovah, and he's not giving up his position or his place,
Right.
Or his authorities, his dominion upon the earth. And when finally the courtroom session is over, and everything comes and floods in on him, and he's I forget how many times richer he is when when it's all restored than it was before that fact.
Right. And interesting that in Yasher, there is a similar confrontation in the heavens over Abraham.
Ah, yes.
And it describes how Ishmael and Isaac were in the tent together, one-upping each other. And at the end of that exchange, Isaac says to Ishmael, if Jehovah were to ask for my whole body, I would gladly give it. And it says that statement from Isaac's mouth was heard in the heavens. And
And guess what happens?
and then later, the Satan comes and has a very similar exchange about Abraham, as what happened with Job. And so then you see them going up the mountain to sacrifice Isaac.
Yeah.
And so that's very interesting.
Yeah, indeed. And so with these things, however, there's a tremendous amount of battle right now upon us like never before.
Right. And it makes you wonder how many of those conversations are going on
Yes.
in heaven about those of us who are maintaining our
Right.
dominion
Right.
and refuse to give it up.
Right.
And if it's happened twice that it's been recorded,
Yes.
how many other times has it not been recorded?
Yes.
That the Satan says, well, check out check out Wayne Anderson.
Yeah.
You take this and this and this away, and that man will surely curse your name.
And what concerns me right now is the goddess Ishtar, which is it's pronounced in modern English as Easter,
Right.
and how much I heard more about Easter coming from the wrong mouths
Yes.
this year than I've heard in a long time. That becomes scary because that's the stuff of idol worship, and it has nothing to do with. I mean, egg hunting isn't something you should be teaching your children. Egg hunting is about the productivity, I can't think of the word there.
Fertility.
Fertility. Thank you. The fertility of Ishtar, the queen of heaven.
Right.
Okay, that's what it's about.
Known in Greek as Diana. Who
yes.
has a temple
in Ephesus.
In Ephesus to her name.
Right. And so she's called a different name in
Different cultures.
Actually, there is no gender. The spirits don't have gender
Right.
in heaven. Okay, Jesus settled that when
Yes.
he taught. But it takes on a persona of gender, a female, and you see her in Egypt you, by one name,
Yes.
and in Greek by another name, and Rome by another name, and Syria by another name, and Babylon by another name, and when we look
Western
at
culture by another name.
yes, and most the word Ishtar is also hidden behind other names. The Ishtar one is actually Babylonian. Okay, so you get that really strictly from a Chaldean
Right.
word, and man, we're too far into that. We got so much to do, but I'm just saying that it concerns me that there's so much idolatry that has come alive right now, and it's at a time when we are in a battle for everything. It seems to me like we can't give up and stop our halting of all idolatry. Josiah needs to be released, and the idols and the idol worship needs to be torn down. And that should be our quest right now, because that is what Jehovah holds in high esteem for us. And he knows that he is already, at the foundations of the earth, already empowered us to take down powers and principalities
Right.
with our word.
Yes.
Okay, but we cannot do that because we lose our authority, we lose our power to the worship of idols, and we've said
We
many.
mix the seed.
We start mixing seed. That's right, and that not a good thing.
And it weakens the authority that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look at Ephesians here and
So
jump in here.
verse 10 there. In conclusion, he's of chapter 6. So he's obviously had a whole lot to say, because now he's in conclusion.
Right.
Strengthen yourselves in Jehovah and in the power which his supreme might imparts.
His supreme might imparts.
So in the journey of faith, the apostles underscored the importance of personal empowerment. Each believer is urged to actively engage in fortifying their spiritual strength. And while divine support is ever present, the onus of seeking and embracing this heavenly might falls upon the individual.
Right.
Strengthen yourselves.
It's not magic.
Right.
And you don't ask God to strengthen you. He's already given you
the tools.
To be strengthened. He helps you.
Right.
Okay, it's not that he stands back from you, but you've got to have the initiative to strengthen yourself.
Right. So the essence of this instruction is clear. Strengthen yourself through consistent prayer, diligent study of the scriptures, and unwavering faith in Jehovah's supreme power.
Uh-huh.
In the spiritual battles we face, it is essential to rely on the strength provided by Jehovah. This divine empowerment equips us to stand unwavering in the face of adversity, with a resolve fortified by his supreme might.
So we separated this part because it's important to start with it's time to strengthen yourself for the battle. Get rid of all idols. Do not. If you find an idol that's in your life and being mentioned all the time, do your best to get rid of it.
Tear it down.
Et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but that strengthening comes before the rest of the
armor.
the armor and the forces of evil. So let's read Ephesians 6 there.
So put on the complete armor of Elohim, so as to be able to stand firm against all the stratagems of the devil. For ours is not a conflict with mere flesh and blood, but the despotisms, the empires, the forces that control and govern this dark world, the spiritual hosts of evil arrayed against us in the heavenly warfare.
Now you notice this is probably not how you have it memorized. We purposely used an old translation from the 1800s, which is called the Weymouth translation, and you can find that all over the place because it's kind of popular nowadays. And one of the things I like about it is it uses different words. They're good words. The other words are good too.
Right.
I don't think these are
Makes
any
you think
better
a
ones,
little
but
bit.
yeah, they just make you think.
Right.
Because most of the words here, if you get a thesaurus out and use it, there's a string of words that you could use in each one of those places to translate the Greek behind them.
The apostles taught about strengthening the defensive armor as well as the offensive weaponry of the unseen spiritual realms from the words of the prophets of old.
Okay, so let's look at some of the prophets'
So
words.
Isaiah 11:5. Also, righteousness will be the belt about his loins, and faithfulness the belt about his waist.
Isn't that interesting?
And in chapter 59, he says he put on righteousness like a breastplate and a helmet of salvation on his head. And he put on garments of vengeance for clothing and wrapped himself with a zeal as a mantle. And in chapter 52, how lovely on the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news, who announces Shalom, and who brings good news of happiness, and who announces salvation, and says to Zion, your Elohim reigns.
So you see those. You should be able to see that the Apostle Paul didn't make that stuff up.
Right. He pulled it out of Isaiah.
He brought it forth from the prophets. Now it comes with a whole lot more teaching than we get written in either the book of Ephesians or the book of Acts or any of the other epistles. But the fact is there was a lot of warring with the unseen realm talked about as Jesus did so and then taught his disciples, his apostles and his disciples and so on. And it was a part of the kingdom of heaven upon the earth. And when you just look at what Jesus, when he taught them how to pray, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Those are that is the principles we're talking about that takes away the authority for wickedness and evil and the rebellious spirits to take away from the kingdom in any way. That would mean all of God's children, but all of God's ways and his purposes and so on. And so it just is important for us to realize that this is something that isn't. You don't just find it in Ephesians The Apostle Paul got it from
Right.
Isaiah, but there's a lot more back there. Okay, I just picked
Just
a
pulled a
few.
couple.
I just pulled a couple of them out of Isaiah because it was easy, but there's more to this, and so yeah.
To combat these unseen forces, Paul exhorts believers to clothe themselves in the complete or the full armor of Elohim. This armor is not a mere metaphor, but a spiritual reality designed to provide divine protection and strength. Each piece of the armor symbolizes a vital aspect of the believer's spiritual defense: the belt of truth to guard against deception, the breastplate of righteousness to protect the heart from sin, and the shoes of the gospel of peace to stand firm in the good news. In addition to these, the shield of faith is crucial for deflecting the fiery arrows of doubt, fear, and temptation, while the helmet of salvation guards the mind against thoughts that lead to despair or confusion. And finally, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim, serves as both an offensive and defensive weapon in the hands of the believer, enabling them to counter the lies of the adversary, the Satan, with the truth of Scripture. Paul's apostolic teaching was intense due to the atmosphere of the idolatry in the region of Ephesus. This was the center of worship of the idol gods Artemis or Diana or Ishtar. The warfare against the ecclesia was severe, and believers needed to be equipped with the spiritual armor to withstand the relentless attacks. Therefore, put on the complete armor of Elohim, so that you may be able to stand your ground in the day of battle, and having fought to the end, to remain victors on the field. Stand, therefore, first fastening around you the girdle of truth, and putting on the breastplate of uprightness, as well as the shoes of the good news of Shalom, a firm foundation for your feet. And besides all these, take the great shield of faith, on which you will be able to quench all the flaming darts of the wicked one. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Elohim.
Okay, so there is a tremendous battle here that is going on in the unseen realm, because Diana, Artemis, is one of the temple there is one of the wonders of the world. It's the center of worship, idol worship to them on the whole planet, and because of that, it has a strength and a power to it that is spiritual. And the Apostle Paul and others went in and started preaching the gospel of the kingdom there, and thus the result is the kingdom produces an ecclesia, a government that has the power of all creation. And so the battle now comes because the Hasatan and the wicked ones have been gaining strength all this time for centuries, literally centuries, and now there's a new sheriff in town. Okay, and that's when the fight starts. And so the fight has already started. He's writing to that ecclesia about it, and we need to understand that things are not that different today in many regions, many areas, many cities, and even nations around the planet, and the leaving the children of Jehovah in a place of divine battle, meaning his battle, the battles of the Lord. And so, or I should say, Lord, the battles of the Master. And so when we look at Ephesus particularly, there's a reason why the Apostle Paul focuses on spiritual warfare there, because the warfare is right in your face. It's not hiding anywhere. It thinks it has all victory, and you can go to plenty of places where that is the truth. That is the case.
Well, and there's also that danger of confusion. You look at what the church did with Easter, and really that push is pushed not from the commercial world, but it's pushed from the church. And so there's a confusion there, and there's an ignorance that ought not to be.
Yes.
And so it weakens the position when it weakens the position of the ecclesia, because you're mixing seed.
Yes, 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 indeed. And so let's continue to look at this. Let's go to Luke chapter 10.
Okay, so in Luke chapter 10, verse 1, and after these things, this is right after the disciples came back, after he had sent them out. Is that right? Or is it later?
No, this is...
The disciples have...
This is him sending them. He appoints 70 others.
Right, but this is when the 12 had already
come back. The 12 had
come
back, yes.
So after these things, the master also
9.
appointed 70 others and sent them 2 by 2 before his face into every city and place, even to where he was about to come.
Now we have a whole lot written in these notes here, but we don't have time to go through them all. So please get on your... on the app and download the PDF, and you'll learn some things about 70. We did
very, very interesting.
Very interesting things about 70 that we have in there, and we're probably going to do some add to that because we found some new sources just recently. So we're going to look more at that 70 and see how it goes into play with like Job and the courtroom that was going on there. Hasatan was accusing Job, and when we look at this 70, this 70 is the Supreme Court of the kingdom of heaven upon the earth.
That's cool.
And that's pretty cool. And so anyway, we'll leave it at that. Let's go down to
verse 17.
Verse 17, yeah.
So the 70 returned with joy, saying, Master, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said to them, I was watching Hasatan fall from heaven like lightning. Behold, I have given you authority, dominion, or jurisdiction to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power, might, and strength. And over all the power of the enemy, and nothing will injure you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are recorded in heaven.
In other words, the fact that of who you are is why they do those things. You rejoice. You focus on. You stay in the places. I'm heaven. I'm the representation of heaven. My name is in heaven, and heaven. When I show up,
heaven is here.
Heaven is here, and heaven overrides them, all those evil spirits, and so. But the interesting thing is that most people have. I mean, I've heard a lot of people use this because of the wonders of the miracles and that sort of thing. But when they come to the place of their return and their reporting, their accounting, they come back with joy. And he said, I was watching Satan fall from heaven like lightning, and it's really the Satan. All right. So when most preachers preach about that, they take you back way to this fictitious time, or a time we are uncertain of, at least, to when and how Satan commits his first sin and takes the place of God and falls from heaven, and Yeshua is speaking of that time. That's not what he's speaking of, and it doesn't fit the sentence or the paragraph.
Right.
This paragraph and the Greek verb takes you to what they are saying, what he is answering what they are saying. In other words, in common English, if they came and said, demons are subject to us in your name, and he would say, then, I was watching. While you were doing that, I was watching. And the point is, he was seeing the realm of those. Remember, they went to villages and towns where he had not yet been.
Right.
We mentioned that last
Yes.
week.
Yes.
How those who have to make sure that he's there, or they're not going. Well, he sent them out to places where he wasn't, and where he was going to be, and so in that sense, they are out there, and when they're doing the works that he teaches them and he gives them power and authority to do, they're taking away Hasatan's ability to harm. Every time they take away a sickness, that's the ability for Hasatan to harm. Every time they do a miracle, that means that other side is in control. And all of a sudden, that other side, meaning the wicked ones, the spiritual forces of evil, are in control. And every time they take away one of those, they're taking away the ability to harm. And that is a strategy, a warring strategy against evil. He sends you out to take away the ability of Satan to harm.
So I think that's rather important to understand, that taking away the ability to harm is not the same as taking him on directly head to head.
Right.
Right? And so it's more going in the back door. We're not destroying the minions of wickedness. We are taking away their ability to harm and to influence the earth.
Yes. I like to look at it as a building. If the spirits of evil have built this edifice for their behaviors, from their behaviors and for their behaviors to continue and get bigger and bigger, and you come along and start taking brick by brick the foundation away, and all of a sudden the whole building falls.
Right, but you don't go into the building and confront the wicked people that are in there.
That's right, and we're going to see that in some scripture later too, huh? Okay, so that we understand that these powers and principalities, rulers of the darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places, the Apostle Paul is talking about to the ecclesia in Ephesus. Now, if we consider those as principalities, and now look at the Hasatan, who is falling from heaven like lightning, it means they're falling from their throne. Those wicked ones are falling away. They have no more authority over the land.
Right.
Okay, and that's what he's telling them that they did. Remember, he sent them out to every village and town where he himself was going to come.
Right.
And they were out there taking away the ability for the wicked ones to harm the people in the land. And thus, when that was happening, he was watching them in their mighty thrones of arrogance and pride and ego and vanities, and they were falling to the pit. That's what he was watching, because they were doing those things that they couldn't harm anymore.
Right.
They were weakened in their abilities to harm, greatly weakened. And so the 70 had a tremendous effect upon the land and upon the villages, towns, cities where he himself intended on going.
Right.
You know, so okay. So when we look at those wicked ones, and let's go right down to Genesis chapter 6, so that we can see where.
Where does that come from?
Yeah, let's show our listeners why we use that language, rebellious ones, and.
Okay.
And
so these scriptures tell us of spiritual forces having spiritual powers, despotisms, empires, and the forces that control and govern this dark world, and the spiritual hosts of evil that were arrayed against us in heavenly warfare. So in Genesis chapter 6, it came about that men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them. The sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good, and they took wives for themselves from all those whom they chose. And Jehovah said, My spirit will not always strive with man. In their erring he is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The giants were in the earth in those days, and even afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore to them. They were heroes which existed from an ancient time, the men of name. And Jehovah saw that the evil of man was great on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all day long. And Jehovah repented that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So these rebellious sons of Elohim wanted their own inheritance, apart from the children of Elohim. And so they rebelled and did evil, and the result was the Nephilim, the giants. And their transgressions brought forth a race of giants, which were men of renown, heroes of old. And this great wickedness grieved Jehovah, and every imagination of the thoughts of man's heart became continually evil. So using responsible authority against these high-ranking rebellious spirits requires knowledge and understanding that is derived from the Holy Spirit and His Word.
So, in other words, what we just now said is that this is the beginning of that plan from evil. Now, what they did with the daughters of men is what Hasatan did as the serpent with Eve. Okay, they came.
This was the following on of what happened in the garden.
Yes.
What happened in the garden was preparation for chapter 6.
Yes.
Because without
that's
consent,
their plan.
Without that consent of Eve, and it was Eve and not Adam, because Eve had the womb.
The womb.
And the Satan was after the womb so that the inheritance could be born. Remember, man is the only heavenly being that has the ability to reproduce. Spiritual beings cannot reproduce. Elohim created them without that ability.
Yep.
And so for the Satan to create more for his number, he must have the ability to reproduce.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to usurp the authority of man.
Right.
And so and men don't have a womb. So he went after the woman.
Yes.
Because the woman is the one that has the womb.
Right.
And therefore he can use the womb to create more of his own kind.
Absolutely. And when we look at the threat that the children of God, the inheritance of Jehovah. Jehovah has children. You are one of them. You are a massive threat to every one of these rebellious sons of Elohim. These are they are sons. Remember that. They're sons. They remain sons.
Right.
Because he brought them about by his very word. He is the one spirit of heaven that can reproduce even himself.
Right. And it's very interesting that the punishment that came from Elohim after Eve submitted to the Satan was that you will have pain in childbirth. Because it was always about the womb.
Yes.
And so when Gabriel comes to Mary and asks for permission to use her womb for the son of Elohim,
yes,
it's very important there. John tells us in chapter 3, he says he is the only begotten son.
Only begotten son.
He is the only one who is begotten of Elohim.
Yes.
And so that that phrase there takes on a whole new meaning when you look at what the rebellious sons have done with the wombs of women through the ages in producing their own kind.
And they're still doing it.
And they're still doing it, yeah. And so it's very, John is very explicit there in saying he is the only begotten son. Jesus, Yeshua, is the only begotten son of Elohim in this way.
And and the reason that, what's behind that is they are trying to overcome the earth with their own kind. The word kind is it's the base for kindred. Their own family, their inheritance. So their sons and daughters come from them manipulating genetics within the womb of and producing beings that are not of Jehovah.
And cannot, and you see that in when the flood comes along, and there's a lot more detail in Yasher, that the earth could not handle, the earth was not designed to handle the invasion of the Nephilim.
That's right.
And therefore he wiped it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole it would, in other words, the only non-Nephilim were on that ark.
Was Noah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what it says when it talks about Noah being righteous. But when you look in the original languages, it's not only talking about his righteousness, but it's talking about his kind.
His kind. He was the kind.
He was the only
still of Jehovah.
He was the only completely human being left on the earth.
Yes. And then you think about it the other way and how he placed in Miriam's womb his only begotten son, and suddenly now upon the earth, the most righteous kind of his is now upon the earth to do what he's sent by Jehovah to do, to set the rest of his kind free. And his kind are those who would believe on Yeshua, the Son,
right?
The only begotten Son.
Yes.
And so he took kind, and it was no longer genetics. Well, it was sort of spiritual genetics. I'm saying it spiritually. Yes. The likeness comes in faith. Faith produces that likeness. Oh, you can go a long ways in Revelation on what I just now said. Just spend some time Shabbating and thinking about what I just said and the idea of, oh, yes,
right,
and we are producing. We're producing inheritance. No wonder the Apostle Paul says, you have myriads of teachers to the Corinthian ecclesia. You have myriads of teachers, but not many fathers. Through the gospel of the kingdom, I became your father. Well, he wasn't their father. You see how we're looking at spirit kind now, and furthermore, that wasn't some authoritative position that you have over people. It was the love of an inheritance of Jehovah's kind, not your own, because you can't produce anything without Him.
Right.
And so that faith that comes in the Son of His love, as He says, you've been delivered out of the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of the Son of His love. Okay, so I mean, just revelate on all that. We could go for years and years right here and never end. And if we had a room full of people and everybody got an opportunity to say what they see in that, it would be that would be heaven on earth, wouldn't it? To be able to hear and of all of that. So these are the wicked ones. This is the beginnings. This is these rebellious. We call them rebellious because they're rebelling against Jehovah.
Right.
And so you hear us say that the rebellious sons or rebellious spirits, these are the ones. And that's going back to this principled time when they come into a unified place of attack on the kingdom of light. And they can only produce darkness.
So you have only the only humans left on the face of the earth are in the ark. They're the only ones that have legitimate authority to take dominion out of Genesis 1:26 over the earth. And he saves them in the ark, and he destroys all the Nephilim. Well, let me rephrase that. He destroys the bodies of the Nephilim.
Bodies of the Nephilim can't.
The spirits you cannot destroy.
Right.
Spirits live forever.
Right.
And so we all have spirits, but when our bodies die, we have to leave the earth. Right. And so the earth. So the Nephilim lose their earth suit, but they don't lose the spirit.
Yes.
So what happens to the spirit? The spirit is what we commonly refer to today as a demon, or if you were to use the full word there, disembodied Nephilim, right? And so it's a Nephilim without the body.
That's right.
So now it's got to go find another body to inhabit so that it can wreak havoc on the earth.
And realize there's a difference between a demon and this high-ranking spirit, spiritual force of evil. There are spirits that we just read about, but they had Nephilim on earth. But when they died, what we're saying is, and you'll read that in the notes, we give you Jubilees 10, the whole chapter, where you can read about those Nephilim coming back at those Nephilim spirits coming back at Noah's inheritance.
Yes.
And
again beginning to destroy the inheritance.
Right.
Yeah.
And he has a wonderful it's a wonderful appeal to Jehovah, which is an intercession for his inheritance.
Right.
And then there's discussion with Mastema, the head spiritual force of wickedness that oversees all those spirits of the dead Nephilim, the Nephilim that were. Now these things are demons. And a demon is animalistic. So when you look on out there at the news in this hour, and you've got the TDS, and you've got all the people that are keying Teslas and burning and doing these things, watch their animalistic behaviors, and watch how they mark themselves, how they put things into their body. They make their bodies look more like more reptilian, like
the serpent.
Like the serpent.
Yes.
And the reason why is because that's the characteristic of them. They have had
particularly the eyes.
Yes.
The eye is the light, the body.
Yes.
Right? If your eye is full of light, so is your body.
Yes.
And when you see, it's very difficult to hide things in the eyes, and you see a lot of it in their eyes.
Yes. And thus you see so many of them that are entrapped in it have to show up in public with a damaged left eye. And you see it over and over again.
Right.
And from there, that comes from these sons right there. That's their marking, and it has to be public. So it's so
remember,
that
this isn't done in secret. This is done out in the open.
No, it's out in the open.
And if you don't understand what it is you're looking for, just as in Genesis chapter chapters 2 and 3 there, when you're looking at the garden, this is not about whether or not you go to heaven. And I heard my whole life growing up that it was about separating man from God. What happened in the garden was about separating man from God. But the primary purpose of that was actually for the Satan to have dominion over the earth. And for man to give up his dominion. Yes, there is a separation from God in it. I'm not saying that there's not. But when that is the only thing that you see there, you miss the bigger picture.
And he even feared, the evil one feared not having man separate from God, because if he was not separate from God, he'd take over.
Right.
He would come to his senses and take over.
Right. Just the way, in the same way that Jesus, Yeshua, showed us how it's done.
Yes.
I only do what my Father.
My Father. That's right. Over and over again.
And so
there's more revelation right there that you can go wild. When you know these basic foundational principles of the unseen realm, you begin to see all of the revelation, and the words of Jesus come alive. The words of the Scripture and the prophets all come alive and say, that's what they've been telling us all along. That's right. We're victorious.
Right.
We have no business living like a bunch of slobs upon the earth, when the one who created everything is on the inside of us and paid the price of the blood of the only begotten Son, the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of this world.
Yes.
That stuff will preach, you know.
It will preach. Yes.
That's a joke. Just.
Did you want to get to Isaiah 54?
Yes. So let's go to, yes, we need to get down to Isaiah 54 because of this armor. We started with strengthening yourself in strengthening yourself. Put on the full armor of God, right? And so we want to go back to that subject matter because it's the part we're instructing you here of in a way to tell you of the battle and who you're fighting against. But we need to also come back to the real reason here is to tell you, strengthen yourself in the Lord. Rise up. Get out of that place where you are, because the things that have come against you and are coming against you, the things that are robbing you of your greatest victory, your greatest victories in life, you and your inheritance, your family, then let's start looking at that as these are the ones that are taking from you. And Jehovah has given unto us the ability
so
to have victory.
The whole of Isaiah 54 is in the notes, but I'm only going to read for down the bottom here.
And I did it. I took it from the Hebrew. It's not a translation, because I in fact, some of it doesn't make good English because I really filled it with Hebrew. Okay.
So all your sons will be taught of Jehovah, and the well-being of your sons will be great. In righteousness you will be established, for you will be far from oppression or extortion. You will not fear, and terror will not come near you. Surely.
That's all the workings of.
Yeah, and that's just the last piece of it.
Yeah.
Surely no harm can be done without my consent. Whoever would harm you will fall because of you. Behold, look at this. I myself have created the smith, whose breath is the fire of coals. He brings out a weapon for its work. I have created the destroyer for ruin.
Yes.
No weapon that is formed against you will prosper.
That word for destroyer there, notice it's cabal.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Every tongue that contends with you at law you will condemn and defeat. This is the inheritance of the servants of Jehovah. Their vindication is from me, declares Jehovah. So he has lovingly created the smithing angel.
Yes.
Back there, a couple of verses up. I myself have created the smith, whose breath is the fire of coals. So he not only manufactures the armor of the Spirit, but he is also there to repair the armor with divine precision, ensuring that it protects the faithful from any harm.
Yes. Yes.
Shabbat, or rest, is the time for this smithing angel to bring your armor into alignment. No weapon that is formed against you will prosper, and every tongue that accuses you in judgment you will condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yehovah, and their vindication is from me. Thus, the Spirit's armor and the righteous authority of Yehovah protects the servants of Yehovah
Yes.
and vindicates him.
Yes.
So Shabbat matters.
Shabbat
because
matters.
it's an opportunity for you to rest and allow the smithy angel
To breathe
to
on
breathe.
you. That's
and
what it says it does. He breathes
breathe
on the
on you.
fire.
And the fire will restore your armor. If your helmet is dented, your helmet of salvation or your breastplate of righteousness or your shoes, whatever it may be, he can restore that.
Yes.
So I have a question, though. Shabbat is for resting.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the angel supposed to be resting? Oh, no. The angels don't have to rest on Shabbat because Shabbat was made for man.
Yes. Jesus said that. That's the words of Jesus.
Right.
Isn't that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And-
so the angels, they're always in his presence.
Yes.
And so they're always in Shabbat.
They're always in Shabbat.
So they
Shalom
get to work.
is they reek with shalom.
So they get to work
Yep.
while you Shabbat.
And the beautiful thing is those fire coals those sound destructive, but what came down upon the heads of the 120 in the upper room?
Fire.
Fire.
And didn't Isaiah touch his mouth with a coal?
Fire. Yes.
There you go.
It's fire means zeal and passion to us, and ladies and gentlemen, to come up with strength. You've been beaten down, beaten. Your armor needs attention, and you still aren't. You just not getting this Shabbat thing. It's something religious, and I don't even think I believe in it anymore, etc. What day? Days. All the stuff that you've got for excuses. And here's one of the major reasons why you should Shabbat. Of all people, you who are the fighters, you should Shabbat because it's your time. It's the time when that smithing angel buffs you up and puts your armor in place. And that armor is very real in the spirit. And it is seen in the spirit. And the prophets of old saw it, and the apostles and prophets of the New Testament saw it and see it. The prophets of today see it. And they can see pieces of it, and seers see it. And ladies and gentlemen, sometimes very beautiful people like yourself, have you just been beaten, and you're getting beaten over and over, and you're fighting to keep your head above water, and you need this wonderful smithy angel to put you in a whole new strengthened place for what is ahead of you. And so when we partake of the table of Yehovah, we're realizing that death angel and that which was outside, this is Passover, and at Passover, that which was in Egypt, that which the controlling spirits. If you ever want to know what were the gods of Egypt, just go to Wikipedia. And the list takes up pages of gods that they worshipped historically in Egypt. It's kind of an eye-opening thing. And the children of Israel were under that bondage, and yet Jehovah told Moses to tell him to go into the house, slay a lamb, put the blood of that lamb upon the doorpost and lintel and feast on the inside. They were busy feasting with their family, and on the inside, they knew nothing about what was going on the outside. Were not told. And that what went on out there was freedom and liberty to them. And so it is to us today. We do this in our homes, and the blood is upon the doorpost and the lintel of our home. We declare that blood. Romans 3:25, we declare our faith in that blood. And our faith places that armor in place, and that our faith places that blood upon the doorpost and lintel of our house. And when the Lord Jesus took the bread and he said, "This bread is my body, which is for you," the wonders of the revelation of the glove. The body not only has done great things for you, but the body also did great things for everyone. But that which was the hand on the inside was the Spirit of the Father in the body of the Son. And today, the Spirit of the Father and the Son are the hand in us. This body is for you. We could say this glove is for you. And so our gloves are being strengthened right now. I said our gloves, our bodies are being strengthened right now. By what? By magic words? No, by His body. His body, given for us. He was wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities. The chastening of our peace fell upon Him. By His stripes we are healed. Peter wrote it out and said, he changed the verb to were healed. We were healed. And so let's partake of the body. And then he took the cup after supper, saying, "This cup is a new covenant of my blood." This is the inheritance. We've been talking about inheritance here. When it comes to Jehovah's inheritance, His inheritance comes to us through the blood of the Lamb. The blood of His only begotten Son. And we partake of the cup because this cup is for us. It is His blood. We're His blood now. We're His bloodline. We're His inheritance. Let's partake. Well, our blessed hope right now is that we opened your eyes to the battle and the fight. But really, we've said all this, done all this work and preparation to encourage you to rise up, and encourage you to get your armor in place, and encourage you to have any damages done to your armor because of the battle and the fight. They happen. Good warriors need their armor buffed up, And so, Shabbat Shalom. The Lord bless you, keep you. May His face shine upon you. His name is upon you. Jehovah is His name. His name is upon you.